Alexander Calder-Spinelli here of Longbow Media, and today we are here at the Night Fision booth at the NRA annual meeting in Indianapolis, Indiana, here with Corinne Mosher, brand ambassador for Night Fision and competitive shooter. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thanks for stopping by the booth. So, go ahead.
Now, before you were saying something about tritium night sights?
Right. So I've been with Night Fision for a couple of years now. What Night Fision does is they are a US-based company. They're out of Dearborn, Michigan, and they produce the best, the brightest night sights with tritium inserts in the world. Now, with the Kamanga company, which has been making their the compasses for the U.S. Army for about 30 years, they took that business in the tritium side and brought it to making the best night sights. So what we have here, we're going to have some CNC machine steel sights. So for a gun that is going to be, well, any gun needs to have durable sights, but specifically when you're talking night sights, you're talking about guns that are going to be used for self-defense. So these have to be made out of the most durable material and be guaranteed never to break down, never to chip, never to be to be destroyed, basically. So what we have is we have 30% more tritium than our competitors. We're able to do this because of the patented housing unit that we put the tritium into. Now it's in a dome shape, so it's going to collect more sights. It's also the material that this housing unit is made out of is ballistics polymer. So think about it like bulletproof glass, like it's that durable. We call this the perfect dot because, as you can see, I don't know if your camera can see, probably not, but it's extremely visible and bright in conditions like this where you have light, but then again when the light begins to alter or fail, that's when the tritium takes over. So I've been using these for several years on my Canics, on my Glocks, on my STI 1911 pistols, and I use them not only for competition and for teaching, but also for self-defense. So that's what we have here. That's what we're best known for here at Night Fision, is the best tritium night sights on the market, period. This is very customizable, so everybody wants something different, not only in the color of the dot that they might want, but what is present on the rear sights as well. Okay, so a lot of people would like to have 3 big dots that line up. That's just an eye preference thing. For me, I like to have blacked out rear sights. I still want the tritium insert to be there, but I don't want the housing units to be colored at all. So blacked, so just as this one is seen here, the blacked out housing units is my personal preference for eyes. So we have these in different colors. We have white, red, white, and blue. We've got yellow, orange. For competition, I tend to use the yellow and the orange because they stand out away from the targets better versus than something like the green or the blue.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get involved in Night Fision? Did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you?
They reached out to me, actually. I'm known as a competitive shooter. I also do instruction for self-defense. So they approached me with a partnership, and I was like, this is a no-brainer. I mean, I train people the best I know how. I want them to have the best gear, and this is just what you need. So it was a no-brainer for me. Easy partnership.
So how did you personally get involved in competitive shooting?
So by accident, a couple years ago, I took a concealed carry class, and I really fell in love with the idea of training myself as hard as I could and becoming really proficient in the use of firearms, in the safe use of firearms. And so when I became an instructor, I had all these skill sets that naturally led to using them in competition. I believe that competing makes you a better shooter, and it makes you a better instructor as well. So that's how I got into competition.
Now, how would you say the competitive shooting sports world compares to other sports, either archery or even more traditional sports like maybe soccer or something like that? Why should somebody get involved in competitive shooting sports?
Well, I think no matter what you're doing, I think you need to compete in it. And what I mean, if you're an artist, you need to go to shows. You know, if you're a musician, that was my background, actually. So to answer your question, how does it compare to other sports? I never did other sports. I was a musician. But the same with music and sports. You practice a skill, and then you need to go perform in that skill. You need to have something that's driving your skill development. That's what a performance is. When you go on stage and play your violin, you're practicing for that. For competition, for shooting, you have a match to go to, so you practice for that. And then when you arrive at that match or that competition or the performance, you do your best and you see where you excelled and where you need to go back now into the practice room and do better. So competition teaches you where you're doing a good job in your practicing, and also where you need to go back and touch up the areas where you're making mistakes or you're not as strong.
So how much practicing do you put forth before a match?
Not as much as I should, but it's very focused practice because I will take into account what went right, but what went wrong at a match, and I will go back and I will focus on those areas. So I'll get a couple hours of practicing during the week, but just not that much, just a couple hours. But when I practice, it's always focusing on the fundamentals. So when people say that dry practice, that dry fire, I'm practicing draw stroke. I'm practicing draw stroke to full presentation with a perfect grip, sights on, trigger press, nice trigger control, all of that, transitioning to targets. I'm not going out and shooting a match every day, but the skills that I need to draw from in order to perform well at the match, those are what I'm practicing, during the week before a match.
Cool. And what are some of the things about competitive shooting, or just shooting sports in general, that really make you want to stay involved in the sport, that get you excited and keep you going?
Easy, the people. They're the best people. The people in the shooting sports are the most generous, the most friendly, the most welcoming. I joke, but it's true. If you were to show up at a match and your ammo hadn't made it to your hotel, so you had no ammunition, or your gun broke, or you forgot your gun belt, there would be people immediately throwing their gear at you, or their firearms. For instance, the first match of the year that I did in Texas last month, 2 months ago, I didn't have a working gun. One of my guns was down. Well, a member of my squad, I didn't know him, we just met, was like, we'll share my gun. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal for somebody at a major match to let you shoot their gun. That also needs to perform well for them. So the people make me stay. It's awesome. It's a great community.
And finally, what does the Second Amendment mean to you?
The Second Amendment to me is the way that we ensure the longevity of all of our rights. If we believe in the right of free speech, if we believe in life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, that's awesome, but how do we ensure that we can protect that? And that is what the Founding Fathers embedded in the Bill of Rights, was the way to ensure everything we hold dear will never be taken away from us. It's the end-all, be-all. It's a security clause, and that's what it means to me.
And anything else that you would like to add about yourself, or either night vision, or whatever comes to mind?
I'll add something about competitive shooting. There's a place in the competitive shooting sports for everybody, no matter your skill level. So if you ever were interested in going shooting, you go watch a match or go out. Don't be intimidated if you see people wearing jerseys, and it doesn't mean that you're not welcome. You are absolutely welcome with whatever guns, whatever gear you have, as long as you're willing to learn and you have a great attitude, then you belong in the shooting community. So,
thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Alexander. Appreciate it.
You've been tuned in to Longbow Media here at the NRA annual meeting in Indianapolis, Indiana. We're here at the Night Vision booth. We've been speaking with professional shooter Corinne Mosher.